My name is Ariella, and I work for Nefesh B'Nefesh. I live in Renana. If there's any Renana people here. I am joined by my colleague Yitz, who works on the same team as me. We are the post-Aliyah answers department. So whereas during the pre-Aliyah process, you had a pre-Aliyah advisor, now you have a whole post-Aliyah team. And feel free to be in touch with us with any questions. Sorry, just wait one sec. Okay. Okay, we're going to jump into the post-Aliyah guide. So this is something that you guys should all have received. It's really kind of like your Tanakh, like your guide for the next few weeks to get you through your first steps in Israel. They are listed in a certain order, but depending on your status, some things can be done out of order, and we will discuss that. But it is really helpful. I've been working at Nefesh B'Nefesh for 5 years, and I am looking at this thing constantly because things are constantly changing. Different people have different statuses, so I really recommend reviewing this. I know that probably a lot of people have had family or friends who've made Aliyah. It's really best to refer to the post-Aliyah guide or us at Nefesh B'Nefesh because things are constantly changing. So even if your friend or family member said that they did something a certain way, know that it could be very different now, especially things have gone through changes due to COVID. So that's why it's really important to refer to Nefesh B'Nefesh or the post-Aliyah guide. Okay.
I'm sorry, could you show again what your contact information is or where it is on the screen where I could see it if we have to call or write?
Sure. So first of all, you can, it's in the chat. It's also listed on the last page of the post-Aliyah guide, but you can reach us at answers, plural, at nbn.org.il, or at our hotline at *3680. We are there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. Okay. Okay. Pleasure. Okay. So this is the Olay Glossary of some words that you're going to see that you will be using more often. So still have the word bidud or isolation in there. Thank God it's not as applicable nowadays. These are certain government offices that you're going to be using these words. And this way people in Hebrew then will know what you're referring to, like Bituach Leumi, the National Insurance Institute, Misrad Aliyah v'Klita, the Ministry of Absorption, Misrad Pnim, Ministry of Interior. And these are different government offices that as you get absorbed and accustomed to life in Israel, that you will be very familiar with. Okay, so your first steps. Everyone here should have made Aliyah from abroad. There are certain things that you may or may have not received at the airport, depending on your status. So many people most likely received a Tudat Olay. This is a navy blue booklet, or if you have prior Israeli status, it would have been called a Tudat Zakaut, for anyone whose status was an Ezrach Olay or a Katin Choser. And this is essentially a certificate that you are recognized as Olim Chadashim and that you have certain benefits. Now, if someone in the couple was a different status, then you might not appear in the Tudat Olay. Or certain people, if they had a previous A1 visa before making Aliyah, you would not have received this at the airport. So don't be surprised if you did not receive this. You would receive this at your local Misrad Klita branch, which I'll get to later on. Depending on your status, you may have also received your healthcare registration form. You would have also, depending on your status, received your first payment in cash from the airport. A note of future bank account, which you will then bring to your bank when you have opened an Israeli bank account, an Israeli SIM card. So these are some of the things that you would have received at the airport. Does anyone have any questions about the documents that they've received so far at the airport? No? Okay. So we will.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm considered a Katin Jose. I didn't get anything at the airport. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. The only things you would have received at the airport is the SIM card, and you would have gotten the taxi ride.
Okay, yeah, all right, thank you.
Okay, yeah, my pleasure. So you're going to get the rest of the things as you go to the different government offices, which I'm going to get into in a second.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, pleasure. Okay, so the first step for most people is going to be the biometric Zoot. This is your official Israeli ID. So you need to make an appointment on the My Visit website. You will be selecting the Rashut HaAulosin VeHagira, the Population and Immigration Authority. You will see that this is the symbol that you're going to be looking for on the My Visit website. And you'll be making an appointment for a biometric Zoot. Now, some of you may have gone into the My Visit website and been shocked when you saw that there's not an appointment until February. That is true in many circumstances. However, if you log into the My Visit website in the morning hours, maybe in the afternoon, you may see that appointments have been added. This is because many Misrad Panim branches will add appointments as they see that they have availability. So don't freak out if you've logged in, you can't find an appointment until January or February. If you have scheduled an appointment for that far down the line, please cancel it because you cannot create a new appointment until you've canceled your previous one. And what I recommend doing for about a week, if you for a week post Aliyah, is to search every morning a couple times between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. At your local Misrad Panim branch, at the Misrad Panim branches in the area, because most likely you will find that appointments will be added. We as a team, we check several times a day, and I promise you on a daily basis, we see that appointments are added. This may mean that you need to go a little bit further in order to a different branch in order to get an appointment, but this is definitely not something to be concerned about. If after a week or so you cannot find an appointment, please be in touch with us and we will see if we can assist you in the process. At the appointment, you'll need to bring several documents, which we have listed here on the right. Your birth certificate, your original marriage certificate, if applicable, your proof of Judaism, any other documentation that you presented to the Jewish agency, your foreign passport, and very importantly, you need to bring 2 passport-sized photos. The reason for this is because you won't receive your biometric passport on the spot. You will only be receiving it in the mail a few weeks later. If you provide the 2 passport-sized photos, they will then issue you a temporary Zoot on the spot, which is valid for 9 months. And you can do everything with that temporary Zoot, such as opening a bank account. And your biometric version will arrive in the mail to the address that you have with the Misrad Panim. So you'll be providing an official address to the Misrad Panim on the day of the appointment. I saw that Tamar raised her hand.
Hi, yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I made Aliyah and I'm an Ezrach Olay, meaning I had citizenship because my mom was born here prior.
Yeah.
And I don't have any like physical documents. I have a picture of my birth certificate. I have a picture of a passport. The picture, like I don't have anything with me.
You didn't bring, you were born abroad, you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, and you didn't bring any of your original documents with you?
No, I have pictures of them.
Okay, let's speak privately after this, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So just stay on after the presentation. Okay, any other questions?
Yes, Ariella. Yes, this is Alan and Karen Masrick from Jerusalem. So we tried, we arrived last Wednesday. We've tried multiple times. I've tried all day, times day or night to get an appointment. I was able to secure something in March when we're not going to be, well, actually we're going to be traveling back here. And I was able to secure something in March, which not in Yerushalayim, but in Modi'in, and then of course it said, but it's only for Toshavei Ha'ir Bilvad, so I'm not even sure that appointment.
So yeah, you should cancel that appointment. And you should email us. And
so I called the number and I spoke to Shlomo. Shlomo was going to try to get me an appointment in Har Har Choma. But I haven't heard
Okay.
anything. I spoke to him this morning.
Okay, well, you
but-
definitely need if you make it an appointment for March, we're not going to be able to help you get an appointment until you cancel your current
Cancel. So I have
appointment.
to, how do I have to go back to the My Visit business and cancel that
Yeah.
whole thing?
And
my
also, you should also have an option to cancel it via SMS. So you should have received an SMS confirmation to your
I did
phone.
receive, yes, so I
And
can
there
cancel
is an
the application.
option, it says like Le Bitul, so you can just click that link and it'll cancel the
Okay,
appointment.
very good. Okay, thank you. So they will not be able to schedule me for another appointment until that one's canceled. In other words.
Correct.
All right, because it was, I must tell you, it was not an easy navigation. It was very frustrating, I must say, because you couldn't get any appointments. Then
As
I
many
grabbed
things
that.
are when you first make Aliyah. But yeah, cancel it and we'll see how we can help you get a sooner appointment.
Now, I understood that some people on flights, I know our daughter came a few weeks before us, and they were on an Aliyah flight with Nefesh B'Nefesh, and they received their Teudat Zehut. They were notified that it would be there for them to pick up.
Yeah, this
But
is for a group that was specifically for group flights.
because we did have a small group on our flight, but it was not.
No, but
big.
Nefesh B'Nefesh has specifically larger group flights that, yeah, it doesn't apply to your scenario.
All right, although, okay,
Okay.
all right. Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. Sharon?
What I was going to say, especially to Alan and Karen, I also was on a Wednesday flight from New Jersey. I started with my visit immediately when I had my Teudat Zehut number, and of course there was nothing available in any location anywhere except for the January, February, March. I started at midnight, and then when I woke in the middle of the night at 2, I checked again on my visit at 6 a.m. 6 a.m. they do a complete release of a whole batch of appointments, sort of akin to what they were doing in the States with vaccines. My suggestion really is at 6 a.m. to set your alarm, go online, and you will be able to snag any kind of appointment you want because there's tons of them that open up.
It might not be as early as
Thank
6
you.
a.m. We also do see them sometimes put appointments out at 1 p.m. So as I say, it's good to check a couple times a day. But
And
send
the
us an
other-
email if you've been, really struggling to find an appointment, and we'll see how we can help.
Speak
The
up.
other thing I was going to say was
Sorry,
that in
hello.
terms of the passport photos, many of the Misrad Pinim, they have typically in the same building or the same group of stores, there are photograph shops so that they can do passport photos for you there, and it takes really 10 minutes to get the pictures.
Yeah, thank you. Very good information. Thank you. Yeah, Ori?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I saw the same thing as the other Aliyah members saw on my visits. And then I just went early morning on Thursday to the Misqal Apnim, and I managed to book a visit. And they told me they were aware about their site and the delays. And I did a good thing. And I
So
went there on
which branch was
Tuesday.
this?
This was in Jerusalem.
Okay,
Where?
listen,
And-
you
And I
can,
have an appointment on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday, but I'm pretty sure it's like that for all of them because I have other friends that did Aliyah and they just went early in the morning and they managed to book an appointment with us.
Which
I haven't
Which
heard this
location?
from too many Olim. Listen, if it works, then I think that that's wonderful, but I can't confirm, I cannot promise that if you go to any branch that they will do that for you.
Where was
Ariel,
that?
Ariel, may we ask that gentleman which branch he went to in Yerushalayim?
It
So we'll
was
head
the
there
one
tomorrow.
on Shlom Tzion.
So it's the one in the
Shalom
city
Aleichem.
center.
Okay, all right, we'll do. Okay, I'll
Okay,
get there. What time do they open? 9 o'clock?
8.
8, yeah,
8 o'clock. Okay, very good. Be there. Thank you.
okay. Okay, any questions about the documents you need to bring to the appointment? Okay, I just also want to note that it's very important while you are there to be diligent about checking the items, all the information that they record on the Teudat Zehut. Make sure your name is spelled correctly. Make sure the address is correct because that's where they're going to be mailing it. As I said, you're not going to receive the biometric version there. The biometric version will come of the card will come in the mail. One thing that you need to do is you need to activate the biometric Teudat Zehut within usually 24 hours of receiving it. You will be sent an SMS asking to confirm that you've received the biometric Teudat Zehut, and you'll need to respond 1 to it. Once you respond one, it usually takes another 24 hours, and then your biometric 2.0 will be activated. So that's just one thing to keep in mind when receiving the biometric version. Okay, any more questions before I move on?
24 hours later, it's activated. Yes.
No? Okay. I just asked that you
I'm
mute
sorry, Ariella.
yourselves. Yeah, okay.
Ariella, I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I'm going back to the States before Rosh Hashanah. So what the person at Mr. Apinim did for me was I was there with a friend. He took her information for delivery of the biometric Tudat Zehut. How is this going to work for me then?
So if she has, so you should have received a 4-digit security code, and you can share that code with her.
Yes.
If they are home when the messenger tries to deliver it, she can collect it on your behalf with the code. If if they're not home, it's not a big deal. There is a tracking number on the form. I just ask that anyone mute themselves. And if you have a question, feel free to unmute yourself.
But my question then becomes, Ariella.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't finish answering it. There is a tracking number on it. If they're not home when if they try to deliver it, it's sent to the post office, and with the tracking number, you can find out which post office it is. It usually waits at the post office for 2 weeks. And if for some reason it's not picked up within those 2 weeks, then it's sent back to the original Misrat Panim branch, and you can collect it from there without an appointment. But for any point where you need to pick it up, you need to show the security code.
Right, but what you said was that they're going to send you an SMS to activate the biometric. What should I do? Should I leave the Israeli SIM card in my phone in the States?
No, I mean, they're only going to send you this once you've collected it. So you'll be in Israel, I assume.
No, but my friend.
Oh, unless your friend collects it for you.
Yes. So
if for some reason that happens, you can also activate it online by creating what's called a government account, and we can send you the tutorial on how to create that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, can you unmute? No, you unmuted.
Okay. Anyone else have a question?
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know if you're ready for the 2000 or the bank, but one of the documents that we got at the in the airport supposed to be to present to the bank when we open an account.
Yeah, I haven't reached the step about the bank yet.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I have a question. My name is Nirtza. I came on Wednesday. I was able to get an appointment for the 2.0 on Thursday morning. And thank God it went well. Like I went and got it. But they didn't tell me anything about a code. I heard you just mention like a code for pickup for delivery.
You didn't receive a piece of paper. It's usually a blue piece of paper and it has a 4-digit code on it.
I don't think so. Let me check though.
Okay, yeah, it's something that everyone should receive. And also, if for some reason you didn't receive that piece of paper, you don't know when, you usually receive an SMS with the code and the tracking number in it as well. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I don't see the blue sheet. So I should look on my text.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and if for some reason you still don't have the information, we'll see if we can help you get it. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. Okay, so we're going to move on now to the bank account. Okay, so for anyone who already by chance had a bank account in Israel, the first thing that you need to do is you need to switch it to a citizen's account. So it would have been a foreigner's account before, and now it needs to be registered under your Teudat number. In most cases, if you did not have a bank account, then you will need to open a bank account. So for anyone who received a Teudat Olay at the airport, in which both people are listed on it. If you are a couple, you can open a bank account within your first 30 days of Aliyah with a Teudat Olay. Okay, so if there's anyone who needs to open a bank account but they don't have a Teudat Zehut yet, know that is a possibility. If you have a Tudat Zeut, there's no problem at all. You can open the account with also just a Tudat Zeut. However, if you have all the documents, it is best to bring the Tudat Olay or Tudat Zakaut with your Tudat Zeut. You'll need to bring your passport, ideally 20 shekels, some amount of money you should ask the bank to put in so that you have an active bank account. You received a document from the Misrada Aklita at the airport that is note a future bank account. If, let's say, you're Katina Chozeret and you didn't receive that document at the airport, don't worry at all. Basically, any official bank statement is sufficient for the Misrada Klita in order to give them your bank details. So they will usually ask for something called an Ishur Niul Cheshbon, or maybe like a deposit slip, any official bank statement that has your name, your Tudat Zeut number, and your bank details to prove that this bank account is attached to your name. If you are a US citizen, you will have to fill out a W-9. You'll need to also provide your social security number. Now, in rare instances, we have heard that certain banks have asked to see the actual social security card. I don't even know where mine is. So if there is a bank that asks you to do this and you don't have it, my suggestion would be to go to a different bank because many banks do not ask for this. In most scenarios, also a bank will require you to make an appointment ahead of time. So if you have a specific bank that you would like to open an account with, you should call them to make an appointment. If you are not able to get through via phone, I would walk into the branch and ask them for an appointment to come back another time. It usually takes about an hour to open a bank account. It's also important to choose a bank that is conveniently located to you. So let's say you want Bank Leumi. If you live in Jerusalem, I wouldn't choose any Bank Leumi in the country. You should choose one that's located conveniently to you because most of the activity that you're able to do is specifically at that branch. Once you get accustomed to the app, all banks have an app and a website. Many of the things can be done online, but in the beginning, you may find that you're going into your branch more often. I don't even remember the last time I went into my branch. Really, once you get accustomed to the online banking, everything can be done online, but it is good to be closely located to your bank in the beginning. Fees are very normal in banks in Israel, so don't think that you are being taken advantage of as an Olay. They are, these fees are restricted. They're registered with the Bank of Israel, but it is usual that within your first year of opening a bank account or your first year of Aliyah, that you're able to negotiate some type of benefits. So maybe you have a year without any type of fees or credit card fees. So that is something to ask when opening a bank account. Another last important thing that I want to mention is if you are opening a joint bank account, it is recommended to fill out this form that I'm highlighting here, Tofes Arichut Yamim. The reason for this is that in Israel, if God forbid one of the spouses passes away and this form is not signed, then the account is frozen for the other bank until a will is brought in. It can be quite a headache. So it is recommended to sign this form so that if God forbid one of the spouses passes away, then the other spouse still has access to the account. Does anyone have any questions after this about opening a bank account in Israel?
Sorry, I do.
Yeah, Sharon.
If my husband and I had a tourist account joint, he is not making Aliyah. We did a split Aliyah. So do I still go into the bank? And
yeah.
Is it problematic though that if he's not here in Israel, do they
No, it's
have
fine.
to be around?
No.
No? Okay, it's just a question of giving them the Tudat Zehut number and then that's it?
Yes, so you need to present the Tudat Olay and Tudat Zeut.
Okay, all right, excellent, thank you.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first one is, the social security card. I may not have the option of getting up and going to another bank, but for whatever reason, the only social security card I have with me is the one for my maiden name.
First of all, the chances that they're going to ask for the social security card is not very likely. And secondly, I should have mentioned, if in a case that they do ask to see a social security number, what's also sufficient is seeing any type of like a tax report from previous years that has your name and social security number on it.
You also have your marriage certificate because you had to bring that as part of your documentation. That'll show your maiden name to your married name so it can track your social security card.
Okay, and thank you. That's good. The second thing is, you said that we received a document at the airport regarding the bank, and it should be in English, but I don't know which, I don't have any document that's English.
Okay, listen, if you don't have it, it's really not a big deal. Some people didn't even receive this document. You can ask for, when you open the bank account, what's called an Ishur Niyul Chashbon. My colleague Yitz can write it in the chat. As I said, any type of official bank statement, even like a deposit slip that has, what Sharon is holding up is—
I can't see it. It's hard to see.
Yeah, but it's in Hebrew. It's not in English. It says Ishur P'tichat Chashbon Bank, and then it has.
Well, they exist in Hebrew and in English, Sharon. But
the one that they
Mrs.
gave
Katz,
us,
the best thing to do is to bring a Hebrew.
All right, I'll go
The
look
one
for
that they
it
gave
then,
us
because
is
I
in
was
Hebrew.
looking for English.
Okay, but as I mentioned before, any type of like official bank statement that has your name, your Teudat Zehut number, and your bank details is sufficient. Okay. All right, Alan, do you have a question?
I'm going to go look to make sure.
Okay, any other questions about the bank? Okay, so we are going to continue. Okay, Misrad Aliyah v'Klita. This is the Ministry of Absorption, which is responsible for all of your benefits. So I mentioned in the beginning that some people did not receive their Teudat Olay or their Teudat Zakaut at the airport. This would be the government office where you're going to receive it.
I got it, Michael.
Also, some people might not be will not be already written on the Teudat Olay. They need to be added, and this is the office where the other spouse will be added to the Teudat Olay. You need to make an appointment for this this government office, not on the MyVisit website. The first appointment cannot be made on the MyVisit website, but needs to be made by calling your local branch. Now, you belong to the branch that is associated with your address with Misrad Panim. So,
Doesn't make me mute though.
sorry, 1 second. If there is anyone not muted, please mute yourself. Okay, so 1 second. We have listed on the guide all of the Ministry of Absorptions in the country. So you need to call the one and or email the one that's associated with your address. So if you live in Herzliya, you're going to call the one in Tel Aviv. If you live in Jerusalem or Gush Etzion, you're going to call the one in Jerusalem. Also listed on our website, and also if you do a Google search, you'll find their address, their email address. So if you haven't had any luck with calling them, I recommend emailing them as well. So I'm going to go back to the step about the Misrad Klita. Okay, once you have your appointment, these are the documents that you're going to need to bring with you: your Teudat Olay, your Teudat Zehut, the form with your bank information. As I said before, if you don't have that form, it's okay. And a receipt of deposit is also sufficient. And you should also, if you already have Israeli citizenship, bring your Israeli passport. The things that they are going to do for you at the appointment, they will begin your Sal Klita payments. They will give you information about local ulpans. If you already have an ulpan that you're interested in attending, you should ask them for a voucher. They can give you information about local resources. As I said, someone will be added to the Teudat Olay if not already if that wasn't already done. And also if you are looking to receive subsidies from the Minal Studenti, from the Student Authority, they will take care of this as well if you are doing higher education. If you are not already signed up for healthcare, someone like an Ezra Olay or Katin Choser, they will also take care of this for you here. Does anyone have any questions about the Misrata Klita step?
Yeah, sorry, it's me again.
Fine.
I went on to my visit to schedule the appointment with Misrat HaKlita, thinking that I could click on the item that said bank form. It says you must appear in person. So is that wrong? I mean, I scheduled it.
Yeah, so listen, for the most part, I would say in like 95% of the cases, My Visit will not let you make the appointment on the My Visit website. There have been a few cases where someone goes into My Visit, they put in their Teudat Zehut number, and it lets them make an appointment for the first appointment. And I say, if that worked for you, then great.
Okay, so I don't have to cancel that appointment.
No, you don't have to
them.
cancel it. Okay? But in most cases, if you go onto My Visit and you haven't been to the Misrata Klita yet, if you put in your ID number, it'll say invalid ID.
Right. That's what happened with Maccabi when I tried to do it there.
Okay. So that's the reason why. After your first appointment at the Misrata Klita, you can make future appointments for Misrata Klita on the My Visit website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We are, our official address is my son's address because we are renting an apartment temporarily in Netanya. He lives in Gush Etzion, and they gave us at the airport to call the office in Jerusalem. Can I also go to the office here in Netanya?
No, you'll have to go to the one in Jerusalem because it goes according to your official registered address.
Oh, okay. So I have to call that number that they gave me in my little fake passport thing?
In your Teudat Olay? Yes.
Yeah, my Teudat Olay. Okay, very good. We'll do it then. All right.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Dan. I got a question for you, Ariella.
Okay.
Do we have to wait on the OPAN to get a voucher until after, like, doing the biometric Teudat Zehut and all the other stuff?
So in the case that if you haven't received your Teudat Zehut yet, you can but you have managed to open a bank account, you can absolutely do this step first. I had mentioned before, like, these are the ideal step orders, but sometimes they can be moved around. So you can absolutely, once you've opened a bank account, make the appointment for the Misrata Klita and go there to get the voucher.
Okay.
Ariella, tell me again, please, how do we make the appointment at the Misrata Aliyah Klita?
You need to call your local branch. So listed on page, one second, just go to it real fast. On page 11 in the Post Aliyah Guide, we have the list of all the branches in the country and their phone number.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I made Aliyah last week and I got my first South Klita payment. If this whole, making an appointment with the bank and all these steps takes over a month, do I lose one payment of South Klita, or do I get double the following month?
Exactly. You get double the following month. You don't lose on any payments. And that's a very good question, because I forgot to add that if you leave the country, the payments stop. Now, the payments are supposed to automatically be reinstated once you return to the country. Like if you return at the end of September to the country, the payments aren't really going to start until October. The payments, so until the following month, the payments come anywhere between the 1st and the 15th of the month. And while I say that they are supposed to be reinstated automatically, there are times when mistake happens and they are not. So I definitely recommend being on top of your bank statement and making sure that the payments have been reinstated. You have within your first year of Aliyah to begin these payments. And if you have not collected all of your South Klita payments within your first year of Aliyah, then you cannot collect them anymore. So it is important, if you want to receive all the payments, that it happens within the first year of Aliyah, because you're not eligible to receive them after the first year.
So a follow-up question to that is, how long do you leave? Like if I leave for 2 weeks, is that considered like leaving? Does it cancel?
Yeah, even if you leave for a day, the payments will stop. but they'll reinstate the next month.
Okay, and to reinstate them, do I call the
No, you don't have to do anything. Like the Misrata Panim system with all of your entry and exits is linked to other government offices, so they'll be able to know. As I said, sometimes mistakes happen, and if you see that between the following month, between the 1st and the 15th, no payments have started again, then you need to call the Misrata Klita. But in most cases, they will restart.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, I have a question about so when I first came, I put I just have a job for a while at a school, so that's where I'm staying. So that's what I put for my address. But I don't I'm planning on moving relatively soon, so it'll say that address that I originally put down somewhere, or do I decide when I get to Teudat Zehut?
So listen, if you're still at that address when you go to the Misrata Panim, then I would put down that address. If you've already moved by the time of your Misrata Panim appointment, then you should put down your new address.
Which is the Misrata Panim?
It's the Ministry of Interior, and that's where you apply for your Teudat Zehut.
So I also don't really want mail going there. I have a relative who has an apartment that I would rather mail go to. Would it be problematic if I just put that apartment?
No, some people, especially if they're going to be moving around quite a bit, they'll use a friend or family member's address, which is fine. Just know that
won't raise any problems for a nona or whatever.
It will, which we'll get to the Arnona in a little bit, but essentially if you want to use the Arnona discount, you have to have the address with the Misrata Panim has to match your address in order to apply for the Arnona discount.
But just so if I'm saying if I put down my address as his apartment, so the stuff goes to there. When I go to, will it create problems for him with Arnona?
It will not create problems for him, no.
Okay, but then there'll be a little bit of a thing when I go to move later, then I have to change the address.
Yes, it's good to keep your address updated with the Misrata Panim.
But you're sure it won't create any problems for him?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I'm sure it won't make any problems for him, yes.
There are a few more hands up, Maria.
Okay.
Lisheva?
I'm sorry. Hi, just a quick question. I know you mentioned that as an Ezrach Olay that you normally have to register for healthcare at Misrata Klita. I received a form at the airport that seemed to imply I was registered and I just needed to go to the office to set up a permanent card. Is that not true in all situations?
So prior to COVID, you could only, as an Ezrach Olay or Katin Chozel, register at your local Misrata Klita branch. But when COVID started, registration for Ezrachim Olim and Katinim Chozrim was done ahead of time. So if for some reason when you check with your Kopat Cholim, if you're not registered, first of all, you can let us know and we can look into it. If for some reason you aren't registered and you're one of those statuses and your appointment is the next day at the Misrata Klita, then you can register at the Misrata Klita the following day. Okay, sometimes problems come up, but yes, you should have been registered ahead of time.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question? Is the Misrata Panim a different address than the Misrata Klita?
Yes, these are two separate offices. There are many more Misrata Panim, Ministry of Interior branches throughout the country, and there are fewer Misrata Klita addresses throughout the country. For the Ministry of Interior, you can go to almost any branch in the country, but for the Ministry of Absorption, you are restricted to go to the one that's associated with your registered address. So if you go to page, I've gone a couple times, but if you go to page 11, you will see the addresses for the Misrata Klita in the country.
I also included the link with the email addresses that you were referring to from the website.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, what Yitzi is putting as far as the links, they don't flash on too long. Some of them, is it possible he could just do a summary?
You are going to receive an email after this with a recording and with the links. Okay. All right. Any last questions regarding this? No? Okay, great. So we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, קופת חולים. So we had just touched on this, but basically many people would have received a registration form at the airport. You need to wait a few days after you've arrived, if you've received that registration form at the airport, to go to a local branch, and you can get a membership card. If you have already received a Tudat Olay or Tudat Zakaut, when you go to get your membership card from your healthcare provider, you should also bring this document with you, because essentially during your first 3 months of Aliyah, you can register for supplemental healthcare. So each Kupat Cholim has 2 tiers. So let's say if you registered for Maccabi, the 2 tiers in Maccabi are Maccabi Zahav and Maccabi Sheli. Usually there's a 3-month, or depending on the service, maybe a longer waiting period for certain services. If you show the Tudat Olay within your first 3 months of Aliyah, you will be able to sign up for the supplemental healthcare without a waiting period. So that's why it's important to bring this with you. Once again, this is one of the steps. You can bring the Tudat Olay or the Tudat Zakaut as a form of ID. So you can, without the Tudat Zakaut, you don't have to wait in order to complete this step. Certain people, like if you had a previous A1 status, there is a different process of signing up for healthcare, which I can go over privately with anyone who was had a previous A1, because it might not apply to so many people here. Healthcare during the first 6 months of Aliyah, you are exempt from paying to Bituach Leumi. So Bituach Leumi is the National Insurance Institute in which everyone is registered for a healthcare provider. If you are unemployed during your first 6 months of Aliyah, you are exempt from paying. This applies to everyone except for people that were previous A1s. And after your first 6 months of Aliyah, you will need to set up payments if you are unemployed. You will receive an email from us around your 6th month of Aliyah with a reminder for this. Okay, is there anyone who has a question about registering for healthcare?
Yeah, I have a quick question. So if you are employed, do you still pay a fee?
Yes, so anyone who's employed, Bituach Leumi, similar to Social Security, will be deducted from your pay stub. Okay, so if you are continually working during your first 6 months of Aliyah, then it'll just be automatically deducted from your pay stub. And if you are for some reason not employed during your first 6 months of Aliyah, you at some point you won't have to worry about setting up the payments.
Sorry. Can I ask a question yet?
Please.
Or is she still asking? Oh, we actually happen to live around the corner from a branch of Maccabi, but do we have to go to the main branch to sign up?
What city do you live in?
Kataman.
In Jerusalem. Okay. So listen, walk into that branch. I only very recently heard from someone. They went to the Maccabi branch in Talpiot, and they told them, actually, this just happened last week, that you have to go to the one on Agrippus 40. Yeah. If you live right around the corner, ask them. They may tell you that you have to go to the one at Agrippus 40. This was the first time I had ever heard this. In most cases, when we tell people to just go to a local branch, they are able to give them a membership card. You also have the option of calling, and you can get it in the mail.
But if you go to the Agrippa's one location to sign up, can I still go to my local branch around the corner?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. The reason why we do usually recommend going into a branch is because you can ask for an appointment with a family doctor. You don't have to wait on the phone. I also recommend that for everyone, even if you, God willing, are healthy. It's good to get a family doctor. They can give you a password so that you can sign into the app. Many things are done through the app. If you need to send a message to your doctor, if you need to renew a prescription, all these things can be done through the website or the app.
Could you just quickly explain what's the difference between the 2 supplements? Zahav and
everyone's going to be different. So for every healthcare provider, so that's why you really need to ask a Maccabi representative. But certain things that apply across the board is there's going to be more coverage for dental care through your Kupat Cholim. There is, let's say you have a medication that's maybe not covered underneath the basket, so then you may have more subsidies for certain medications. If you want to see a doctor privately, you may be eligible for a reimbursement for that private visit. So these are some of the benefits. Also for alternative, like Eastern medicine, there may be more coverage.
Okay, thank you.
We have a question, Ariella.
Yeah.
So when we go to Maccabi to, let's say, upgrade to a Maccabi Shali, do we have to have a bank account first, though? Because in order to pay the supplemental,
you can pay with a
cost?
foreign bank account.
You can't pay, okay, because that was
Yeah.
one of the problems. We were told that the foreign bank accounts don't work for many things, but for that it
No,
works.
for that it works.
Okay, that works. Okay, great. Terrific.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Okay. Yeah, what was your question before?
Any other questions about healthcare? Okay, so we're gonna move on. Okay, monthly child benefits. For anyone who has any children under the age of 18, this is something that you should automatically receive. Essentially, once you go to your local Misrad HaKlita and provide your Israeli bank account information, this information will also be shared with Bituach Leumi, and the payments should start. You receive a payment per child. And if for some reason during your first 3 months of Aliyah you do not see the payments, be in touch with us and we will help you apply. The reason I say 3 months is because you can only receive a maximum up to 3 months retroactively. Also, there is a child's savings plan, which you need to select, or if you do not select it within your first 6 months of Aliyah, then Bituach Leumi will select it for you. There's 2 different savings plans. If you are a U.S. citizen, you might want to consult with an accountant to see which one is better for your child. And you can also choose to put some of the savings, some of the monthly child benefits, instead of receiving it directly to you, you can put some of it into the savings plan. So that is something to be aware of. If anyone, I'm just kind of jumping through these parts. If anyone has any school registration, any questions about school registration, if your child's not already been registered, you can be in touch with us directly, or also most cities that have a higher Olim populations that have a Olim municipal coordinator, and they are really wonderful resources for navigating your local resources. Okay, Arnona. This is applicable for everyone except for Katin Choser. This is a benefit through your local municipality, through the Aliyah. So depending on the city that you live in, it's going to be between a 70 to 90% discount for the first 100 square meters of the home. You can use this benefit for 12 months within your first 24 months of Aliyah. So you need to start using it by your 13th month in order for you to receive the maximum amount. This benefit does not pause. So some people think that if you do Shirut Leumi or the army that it pauses, but this specific benefit does not pause, unlike other benefits during service. In order to apply for this discount, your address on your Teudat Zut does have to match the contract, and you would apply for it through your local municipality. This, in most cities, can be done online, or you can make an appointment to go into your local Aliyah. You need to submit a photo of your Teudat Zut, your Teudat Olay, and the contract or the proof of ownership of the home. The discount will be applied, and then you will pay the remainder. If you live with roommates, then who are not Olim, basically the discount will only be applied to your portion of the bill. So if you live with 2 other roommates, so it'll only be applied to a third of the bill, and you'll have to figure out how much you will be paying. Does anyone have any questions about the Arnona discount?
Yeah, do you have to own where you live? Like I'm right now renting with roommates.
You don't have to go in with where you live. Which city do you live in?
Herzliya.
Herzliya. So everything can be done online. Your name, if let's say your roommates already have their name on the Arnona bill, then you do need to add your name to the Arnona bill.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Sorry, can I ask, can you repeat the process again to how to get the Arnona discount?
Sure. I mean, it's going to be different for every city. And, you know, once you get to this step, you can be in touch with us if it's not clear. But essentially, you apply through your local municipality. And in most cities, this can be done online. So certain cities, they have like a general discount form that you fill out, or they have a specific application for Olim. And then the documents that you'll have to submit is a picture of your Tudat Zeut, the Tudat Olay, and the contract. It has to be at least a 12-month contract. Okay, but when you get to this step, if you need any type of assistance, we can help you.
Can I ask you a question?
Thank you so much.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
If we're renting now temporarily, it's not 12 months, but our permanent address for our Tudat Zeut is a permanent address where my son lives in Efrat.
Mhm.
So do we have to, when we decide to either buy or rent on a long-term basis, do we have to change the address for our Tudat Zeut?
Yes.
How do you do that through the
So
yeah,
so you can do it directly through the Misrad Panim. If more than a year has gone by since your Aliyah and you haven't changed your address, then the change can be done online. If it's within your first year of Aliyah, you can go into a Misrad Panim branch without an appointment, and you'll need to bring proof, so the rental contract, and they will update your address. Basically, the only thing they switch is your sefach. It's the folded blue piece of paper that goes with your Tudat Zeut, and they'll replace that for you.
Okay, and how long does this benefit last again? I didn't quite catch that.
Sure, you can use it for 12 months within your first 24 months of Aliyah.
So it's 1 year. Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Ariella, our contract right now is for 11 months, so we can't apply.
That's correct.
When can we apply? Next year?
When you have a 12-month contract.
Okay. So this year we have to pay the Arnona full.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move forward to the driver's license. I'm not going to get into this too much because I'm sure there's going to be many individual questions depending on your status, which you can see all the information for this process on our website. Also, it's more of a secondary step. But essentially, you have 5 years from your date of Aliyah in order to convert your license. It depends. The process is going to be different depending on if you've had your license for 1 year or if you've had it for 5 years. But essentially, if you've had your license for consecutively more than 5 years prior to your date of Aliyah, and you can sufficiently prove that, then you can convert your license without taking a test. If you've had it for any time less than 2 years prior to your date of Aliyah, you will need to take a theory test. And if you've had it between 2 to 5 years, you will need to take a driving test. The theory test is also offered in English. What is very important to know is that you can only drive on your foreign license for 1 year from your date of entry, and 1 year from your date of entry. And in order for that date of entry to reset, you have to be gone for an entire calendar year, so consecutive 12 months. Some people have been entering and exiting Israel so much that they don't know when their last date of Aliyah, their date of entry was. And because of that, they need to, it's more important to do this process sooner as opposed to later. The reason that this is important is because if you get pulled over by a police officer, most likely they're not going to give you a ticket because of this. But if God forbid you are in an accident, the first thing the insurance company is going to ask is to see a document from the Ministry of Interior with all of your entry and exits. And if they see that you are illegally driving on your foreign license, they can refuse to cover the damages. So that's why it is important to not be driving illegally. Does anyone have any questions about converting the license?
Yeah. Okay.
Hello? Yes,
Yeah.
I have a question. When you say from the date of your last entry to Israel, does that count this past week is our last entry to Israel, September 6th or September 7th? Or the last time we visited Israel, whenever that was?
So in order for your date of entry to be reestablished, you have to have been out of Israel for 12 consecutive months prior to that. So prior to your date of Aliyah, were you in Israel at all 12 months prior?
Yeah.
Passover.
Right. So some people have been in and out of Israel so many times over the past few years that they don't remember when the last time they were out of the country for a consecutive 12 months. So they can't even calculate when their official date of entry was, for this law. So you would have to really look at this, your entry and exits yourself.
No, I know what they are. So my question is, you don't count the entrance to the country, our last entry, the date we made Aliyah, but rather Pesach that passed? That's
no, not necessarily. It could be prior to that, because if were you in Israel at all a year prior to that Pesach?
Yes,
exactly. Some people have been in and out of Israel so many times that they can't even that they already cannot legally be driving on their foreign license.
So in other words, we might be driving currently on a foreign license illegally.
Correct.
So,
How would we know?
but when we want to switch over to an Israeli license, we have 1 year to do so. We still have 1 year to do so, correct?
You have
From our
5
time of
years to
Aliyah.
convert it. You have 5 years from your date of
5
Aliyah
years.
to convert it. The question for some people is how long can they be driving on their foreign license?
I see. So you always have the 5 years to convert it, but many of us who've been back and forth may have already used up our 1 year of.
Yes, that's
even
correct.
though we weren't intending, let's say, to make Aliyah then, and like now all
correct.
of a sudden,
Right.
where we have an illegal license.
You realize that I
That's
asked this question of other people and nobody realized this. It's interesting that it must be very common that people who are going back and forth, as you point out, don't realize that they're driving.
They're not,
illegally.
and rental companies will rent you a car.
Course,
they won't
right,
tell you
right.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that's actually been hitting the news in the States a lot. So I guess the answer is that this 1 year of entry requirement really, or that period of time, it affects tourists. And in terms of us who are making Aliyah, we still have 5 years to convert our licenses. But if we wait and we have been here for more than a year, then we are theoretically driving without insurance, possibly except if we are using one of those American credit cards that covers our insurance. I don't know the answer. I'm just throwing that out.
Can I say something,
yes,
Ariella?
please. Yeah, please go for it.
Okay, so first of all, there are Israeli insurance companies that will give insurance to people without an Israeli license. Okay, that is relatively new. But if you are buying a car and you need insurance to buy that car and you have not converted your license yet, there are not many, but there are insurance companies that will insure you and obviously your car. So that's first of all. If you need information about that, you can definitely reach out. I'm not sure about the information you said before about in America and this and that and affecting tourists and all that, but as Ariella described the guideline, that's what the guideline is. Doesn't it's unfortunate for some people, and I think it was Alan and Karen were mentioning earlier that they are unsure of when they actually came in, or that this may have affected them, and yeah, it's unfortunate for some people and specifically, but that's just the guideline, and that's the timeline that needs to be followed.
You realize you're being penalized if you've gone to Israel many times before making Aliyah. You're being penalized because if you were there in Israel for less than a year prior, you're being penalized because then you lost your ability to drive on a foreign license, which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? That you're penalized if you come to Israel more often as a tourist and you finally decide I'm going to make Aliyah, then you're
Now you're
penalized.
illegal.
Right? Doesn't it sound right? Because if you stayed away for a year,
I
then
mean,
or
there's
more.
definitely one way to look at it, of course. I'm sure that it's not intentional that
of course
the
not.
government wants
It's-
to hurt Olim, but you have to think of all the people who are in Israel for 1,
That's
2,
something they could
5, 20
improve.
years without making Aliyah. And that's who the guideline and the law is targeting.
I
And
understand.
not people who
It's-
visit 10 times a year or
It's
3
a
times
quirk
a
in
year.
the law, right? I understand. It's a quirk in the law that probably needs to be repaired. But okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, it's good to know.
Well, I know that this is a webinar for people who have made Aliyah. Is there a way for a tourist to get a driver's license, an Israeli driver's
We're
license?
not going to, yes, there is. We're not going to go into it here, but you're welcome to email us or call us on our hotline and we can go over that process with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, pleasure. Okay, we're going to move forward. Israeli passport. First of all, if you already have Israeli citizenship, you already have an Israeli passport, so this isn't going to apply to you. You can apply for an Israeli passport, or we've also written here, a Tudat Ma'aval, 3 months or 90 days, whichever one is longer, from your date of Aliyah. If you've already gotten your biometric Tudat Zut and you see what the dates are like in the MyVisit website, I would say go onto the MyVisit website now and apply, make an appointment for your Israeli passport. Due to the backlog of appointments, if you have a foreign passport, which everyone here should, you can travel in and out of Israel with your foreign passport until January 1st, 2023. When you make the appointment for the Israeli passport, which I said can be done on the MyVisit website for the Ministry of Interior, same office where you apply for your biometric Tudat Zut. When you go to the appointment, you'll need to bring your Tudat Zut, your foreign passport. You will need to pay for the passport, and it is recommended to pay online because it's cheaper to pay online than at the branch. You will also you can only pay with an Israeli credit card. So if for some reason at that point you don't have an Israeli credit card, you could ask to use a friend or family member's credit card and just pay them back. They don't care who pays for it. They just require that someone with an Israeli credit card pays for it. And also at the time for making the appointment, each family member needs to have an appointment. So for children, you also need to make an appointment for each child individually. Past January 1st, you will be required, unless the government makes another update, but you will be required to have an Israeli passport and U.S. passport or Canadian passport while traveling. So essentially, when you are exiting and entering Israel, you will need to provide your Israeli passport when traveling in the future.
Ariella,
Yeah.
can I ask you, if we leave here before the 3 months is required for us to get this passport, we will be out of the country, out of Israel as of January 2023. How do we enter the country back in without an Israeli
So in this situation, if you're leaving and you don't have your Israeli passport and it passes January 1st, it's okay. It is important. You should have your Tudat Zut. Because essentially you'll be able to enter the country with your foreign passport and your Tudat Zut, and it is very important that once you come back to take care of the Israeli passport. Okay?
You can't do it through an Israeli consulate or consular service in the
The
States?
first passport really should be done in Israel.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Actually, renewals nowadays in the Israeli consulates abroad are virtually impossible. They're just not giving out any, not creating anything new or renewing in the consulates and embassies.
But I went on to to do the driver's license. I went to the Misrad Panim and I put in my Tudat Zehut number. And when I put down that I was trying to get, it only gave me as an available option to get a I think it was a temporary passport. It wasn't even a regular passport.
No, so there's two options when you go through the process. It'll say Tiud Biometri, I think, and Darkon Zamani. You need to select the first option. Then once you select the first option, it'll give you a longer list of actions. And one of those, I believe the second one is the to apply for a first passport.
Okay, thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, so this is regarding applying for a first passport. Be aware that the first passport that's going to be issued to you it will be valid for 1 year. Some people think the 6-month rule applies like in the US. No, you can travel in and out of Israel on an Israeli license until it expires. If you are in Israel within your first year of Aliyah for more than 75% of the time, so from your date of Aliyah, then your following passport will be valid for 5 years. And if you are in Israel for less than 75% of your first year of Aliyah, then your next passport will only be good for 1 year. Certain people I know, they don't plan on living in Israel each year more than 75% of the time. So it may be worthwhile to apply for something called a Tudat Ma'avar, which is essentially equivalent to an Israeli passport. If you apply for a Tudat Ma'avar, it will be valid for 5 years. The only thing that's important to know about a Tudat Ma'avar is it isn't an Israeli passport in the eyes of other countries. So like the example I use for US citizens, if you want to go to like Cuba, it's maybe you'd want to, in that situation, use an Israeli passport, but you can't use a Tudat Ma'avar as an Israeli passport. For someone who has a US or Canadian citizenship, it's a very strong passport internationally, so it doesn't usually hinder you to not have an Israeli passport and to have a Tudat Ma'avar, which you would just use to enter and exit Israel. So if you're in a situation where you believe you will not be spending 75% of your first year of Aliyah in Israel, you might want to consider getting a Tudat Ma'avar, and you can, I'm not going to get too much into this now, but you can feel free to call or email us if you have further questions about that. Okay. All right, we're going to shortly finish up here. Later on the Tudat Olay, in the Post Aliyah guide, it says a description of benefits. The benefits that you receive are going to be dependent on your previous stays in Israel. So everyone, it's going to be slightly different. And only the Ministry of Absorption can declare what your benefits are going to be. But once you are clear as to what your benefits are, you can I really recommend being in touch with us if you have any questions about them. I'm a strong believer that, the more knowledge you know, the better you can advocate yourself. So it's really important to know about your benefits. We have some really good information as to resources. First of all, you should know that if you need to call the police, you can call 100. There's information for an ambulance if you need the fire department, but really, like, in doubt, just call 100 because they will connect you to anywhere else. This is an amazing resource, Yedidim. I don't know how to change a flat tire. And if you call them, they are a volunteer service that will help you with any type of auto assistance anywhere that you're located. We have also information here if you need to call your Kopat Cholim. There is an extension for English, but you may find that it might not take you to a service representative who speaks English. But there are menus in English. It's important to just read about these different resources. And lastly, but not least, is our other Nefesh B'Nefesh services. So as I mentioned before, you can reach us on our hotline at *3680 or by email. We have a wonderful employment department with employment advisors. We have a higher education advisor. We have a community advisor if you're looking to move to somewhere else within Israel. We have a lone soldier program and also a program for lone benot shirut. We have a beautiful campus in Jerusalem and an office in Tel Aviv. And I highly recommend that you make use of our resources and services. We're here from the day you make Aliyah till forever. We have people who call us who didn't make Aliyah with Nefesh B'Nefesh because they made Aliyah 30 years ago, and even they turned to us. So we really highly recommend that you make use of our services. And if you ever have a question about something, please call us while it is still a question before it becomes a problem. And even if it is a problem, you should still call us. I am going to conclude our presentation. If I asked someone to stay on the line for any individual questions, so you're welcome to stay on, but we do need to finish shortly. So that will conclude the presentation. Thank you very much, everyone, and Mazal Tov on your Aliyah.
Ariella, thank you very much. We appreciate
Yeah,
it.
my pleasure. Take care.
Be well. Take care.
Thank you.
Mazal
Ariella.
tov to all. Mazal tov.
Mazal Tov to everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Is someone really staying on?
There was someone who I asked to stay on, and I forget.
Oh, if someone is on, and I can ask you the question, because I know that I'm not going to be here for the 70% of the year, but I will be here in excess of the 6 months and a day. So do I still want to go for a Tudat Ma'avar, or do I want to go for a passport? I thought that if you were here for the 6 months and a day, it just meant that they would only renew your passport after the first year for 5 years.
No, so there's two things. There's the 6 months in a day, which is in regards to Bituach Leumi and keeping your Bituach Leumi residency and services.
Right.
The 75% within your first year of Aliyah, that's in regards to the passport. So if you are not going to be in Israel within your first year of Aliyah, more than 75%, then it means your second passport will also only be valid for a year. And it's like the 75% rule for your first 5 years of Aliyah. That, like, if each year you do not fill the 75% guidelines, and then after your first 5 years, then your next passport will be valid for 5 years. So if you think that each year within your first 5 years of Aliyah, it'll be more or less like this, then I would just say apply for the Tudat Ma'avar. It'll just, save you the headache of having to go back and forth to Misrat Panim.
And the Tudat Ma'avar lasts for how long?
5 years.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Okay, great, super. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Really do
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Take care.
Bye.
Anyone else?
Looks like no one's home.
Okay, so
I think it was Mrs. Friedman who's here who wanted to ask something, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Mrs. Friedman.
It was not you. Okay.
Okay, so then if you don't have
Oh,
any other questions,
we're going to get a recording of this and all the links and so forth.
yes.
Okay, great.
It'll take a couple days, but it will be sent in a couple days.
Great.